self of the heart is almost completely destroyed. In loving service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendent of songs, he established as an irrevocable fact.
Okay, Jai. All right, so welcome. Today is another day in the life of Mantra Central Ashram. Another day of reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Another day of just being able to practice bhakti. It's a long life, it's a marathon here. So we're in a space that every day we're consistently practicing bhakti. This is like amazing actually. So oh, it's good? Okay. So, yeah. So, congratulations for making it this far, that at least every day you get to practice Vaidhi Bhakti. There's still more to be done. Vaidhi should help you cultivate attraction for the spontaneous path, but that is not available for except if you want it, and then you got to chase it once you want it. But anyhow, this is the best we can do right now. Every day we're practicing. We're hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. We're in the first canto. Bhagavatam is systematically taking us through the different progressions up to love of Godhead, and then in love of Godhead it'll take us through the different progressions on how to love God in the different moods, you could say. So right now we're dealing with the first canto. We're just that there is a God and that there are devotees of God, and that this is how they interact with the Lord. So Yudhishthir is realizing Krishna is left, and he's quite discouraged with this, and that now Kali Yuga is also taking foot in this age. And it's no longer time for him to be here. So he is giving his kingdom up to Maharaj Parikshit, his grandson. He's also deputing Krishna's grandson over the kingdom of Mathura. And he's ultimately getting ready to leave. Actually, he is. He left everything. So that was the last verse. Now this is the verse of how one leaves properly. At some point, right now we're all quite embroiled, maybe with the exception of Madhav and potentially Ben. But even right now, it's very unlikely you guys will not be engaged in career life, and then likely with career life and handling money and all these things, woman life and all these things, and then it just stockpiles and entanglements and there's so many implications that come. So maybe you can become free of it in this life. 98% of men cannot. So if you also go into the long game Grahastha ashram, then there's also the systematic untangling of everything and setting everything to the side, and there's an appropriate time, place, and circumstance for it. So Yudhishthira has found the very appropriate circumstance. I mean, he's a pure devotee. And for the devotee, it's when the service to Krishna is no longer available, or where your service to Krishna will improve elsewhere. That's when you take it and you leave. Yesterday was the day that Prabhupada officially took sannyas, actually. So Prabhupada is led by a great example, and how it got to a point where his family life became unfavorable, and he actually left his family. And many people, great worldly people, will be like, what a monster. How could he do it like that? How could he leave his kids? How could he leave his wife? But the reality they don't understand is that when one is deeply engaged in service to God, Prabhupada joked himself, he was crying one time with his disciples, and he was saying, I'm so grateful for my spiritual master from taking me away from my material life, because I left behind 3 children, and then he was speaking to his disciples, and he's like, and I've gained 300 children. Yeah. And so, but this is actually, when one is on the platform of, being a great servant of the Lord, a revolutionary, a spiritual revolutionary, being confined to one small home is what a limitation, actually. So, but Srila Prabhupada left that, and he began, sharing this with the whole world. So we may also have, we're not like Prabhupada. Prabhupada was born for this. Prabhupada was a pure devotee, whether he was Nitya Siddha or he was Sadhaka Siddha. No matter what, he was Siddha, meaning he was a perfected being. And he came to this world unordinary, and he was a devotee from birth. Us, maybe Rishi, you and Parth, you both received devotional names at birth. So maybe there's definitely something there. But definitely me, Ben, and Madhav, we're, we had a little bit more bumpy. Madhav better than me and Ben, because at least Greg was giving him Krishna. But, a little bit of a bumpier ride into this material world. But still, it's very unlikely that we're definitely not like on Prabhupada's caliber. But at the same time, we can make a great advancement in this life. Great advancement in this life. Who knows, maybe next life we can be born like Prabhupada. Or maybe next life we can be born in a very enhanced situation. Or even me and my wife, we were discussing, just to not to toot our own horns, but just to Abhiram's opportunities in spiritual life compared to ours, like in our birth, it's just incomparable. And we just like, he must be a very advanced soul, actually, to like take birth into this world with this amount of opportunity. Let's see what he does. I don't know. The astrology might, but he has so much, spiritual opportunity, actually, for him. And so he must have been much more advanced than we were, because we came with very little spiritual opportunity. But he is coming with so much spiritual opportunity, meeting sadhus literally from the moment of his birth, and even, in the womb, he's hearing from many sadhus. It's actually incredible. But we're, not all like that. So, but anyhow, Maharaj Yudhishthira, he's exemplifying with how to make advancement, and this is what he's going to do. He's giving up, he's showing how to give up household life. You have to do this. Everyone has to do this. You don't have to not go into household life. Some people say brahmachari for life and things like that. 98% of people cannot do it. It's impossible. With the conditioning, the conditioned nature, it's just impossible for that type of person. So fine, you go into grahastha life, but you have to learn how to give it up. There has to be a giving up of grahastha life. Even in pure devotion, where Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, if one's home is a temple, you never have to give it up. He showed exactly how to give it up as well. Bhaktivinoda Thakur had a pure devotee family, pure devotee wife, and pure devotee son in Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, but he still exemplified how to properly give it up. So Yudhishthira is doing right now. So first thing first, he recognized the need to give it up. There will be a time, the service will be hampered, and that one's life will be checked in household life. And at that time, that's when you give it up. And so first he realized, time to give up. Next, he realized, okay, these things are not my things. Better that someone in the younger generation manages these things. You'll have property, you'll have assets, you'll have money, you'll have this, that, and the other thing. Even now here, we've been doing this for 3 years. And I'm realizing now, I'm not in the position of my life to be a consistent everyday ashram leader. Maybe you guys, if that's a shock to you, but it's just the truth. With child and wife and their growing needs, it just cannot be maintained by me personally. So I'm looking for someone and others to help fill the gaps. This must carry on, but we need someone to help fill the gaps. And I'm realizing after 3 years. So when you manage a household, after maybe 25, 30 years, you'll realize, okay, I have to give this to someone else to manage. Children, qualified, maybe even qualified persons. They don't have to be children, they could be like children and so on. So Yudhishthira has done that. Now we'll see what he's done from next. But before we begin, let us offer our obeisances before I speak on anything of substance. You know what's crazy? Remember I was looking for those verses in the Bhagavatam yesterday? It was the exact verses I said, 1, 2, 9, and 10, but when I did it yesterday in front of everyone, it didn't work. But when I,
Should have had some plan.
yeah, for whatever reason, he didn't, and not everyone was ready to hear these things. But I was just like,
What verses were they?
what?
What verses were they?
Bhagavatam. It was talking about what.
About now, real quick. I'm just curious
Yeah, I can pull them up real quick just to.
if it works.
Yeah, I don't know. I swear I did it right, but one.
Shouldn't just be a real idea.
Yeah, for whatever reason, he didn't want me to talk about these things in the class. Yeah, all occupational engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. They should never be performed for material gain. Furthermore, according to sages, one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service should never use material gain to cultivate sense gratification. So I was trying to talk about how to, actually use the things of this world properly. And it was life's desire should never be directed towards sense gratification. One should desire only a healthy life for self-preservation. Since a human being is meant for inquiry about the absolute truth, nothing else should be the goal of one's works. I was talking about the lower middle class, just getting the basics. Just self-preservation. I'm healthy, I'm good, everything is preserved, my life is preserved. Okay, I can practice devotion. And so on. Yeah, you might come to a point where you're like, okay, there definitely needs to be some stream of income here to manage this thing, But no more than is necessary, So this is, anyway, point I was trying to make yesterday. For whatever reason, Krishna I swear I did it in front of you guys, up here.
Yeah, I think you checked 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, I was like, what is this? And then I do it again later. Krishna was a magician. For whatever reason, okay. Yes, so whatever reason, he was like, no, you just shorten the class today. Okay, let us pray. Offering our obeisances unto the Gurus and all of the incredible personalities in our Guru Varga and lineage, including incarnations of the Lord's dear servants, and the Lord of our Lord, and so on. So many great personalities we offer prayers to. Om Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Mriditavira Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Andeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunath Damikam Samsajivam Sarvaitam Savadutam Parijana Setam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpaturvascha Kripasinubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tvishe Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Ti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. First and foremost, I offer my obeisances unto my Diksha Guru, His Grace Shami Krishi Maharaj, who quite literally picked me up from such a fallen place of ignorance and got me properly situated, got my wife and I properly situated. We were on the wrong path together of engaging in sense gratification rather than spiritual realization, and he helped facilitate for us to get on the right path in such a wonderful way. And so to him I am most grateful. To the Shiksha Gurus in my life who have been helping me advance in my spiritual life, especially these past few years, I offer my obeisances unto them. And to all of our Guru Varga, from Srila Prabhupada and all the way up to Krishna himself. Nothing is happening without the mercy of Krishna coming through the disciplic succession or lineage of great empowered teachers, or Bhagavat Parampara. And finally, offer my obeisance to all the Vaishnavas here present. And all Vaishnavas past, present, and future. And I ask for blessings so that I may speak something that's in alignment with our Guru Varga and with the essence of the Bhagavatam. So let's read. Visrijya tatra tat sarvam dukula valayadikam nirmamo nirahankaraha sanchinna shesha bandhana. Visrijya, relinquishing, tatra, all those, tat, that, sarvam, everything, dukula, belt, valaya adikam, and bangles, nirmama, uninterested, nirahankara, unattached, sanchina, perfectly cut off, ashesha bandhana, unlimited attachment. Maharaj Yudhishthira at once relinquished all his garments, belt, and ornaments of the royal order, and became completely disinterested and unattached to everything. Purport. To become purified of material contamination is the necessary qualification for becoming one of the associates of the Lord. No one can become an associate of the Lord or can go back to Godhead without such purification. Maharaj Yudhishthira, therefore, to become spiritually pure, at once gave up his royal opulence, relinquishing his royal dress and garments. The kashaya, or saffron loincloth of a sannyasi, indicates freedom from all attractive material garments, and thus he changed his dress accordingly. I don't think he actually became a sannyasi, but he took the renounced order. So he became disinterested, but Prabhupada is saying today, in today's age, what that looks like is becoming a sannyasi. But in the previous age, they would wear like deerskin forest garments, like you might have heard in the Ramayana when Lord Ram was given a cloth to wear to go to the forest. So anyway, but Prabhupada, to make it simple for Westerners, how do we recognize someone who's done this? They're a sannyasi, almost usually. So he became disinterested in his kingdom and family, and thus became free from all material contamination or material designation. People are generally attached to various kinds of designations. The designations of family, society, country, occupation, wealth, position, and many others. As long as one is attached to such designations, he is considered materially impure. These are called upadis. You've heard of this word? Upadi means designation. So I am related to this world in this way. I am a man. I am a yoga teacher. I am this thing. I am that thing. I am from this race. I am from this place, and so on. As long as one is attached to such designations, he is considered materially impure. The so-called leaders of men in the modern age are attached by national consciousness, but they do not know that such false consciousness is also another designation of the materially conditioned soul. One has to relinquish such designations before one can become eligible to go back to Godhead. So it's very nice that someone would like to make America great again, but at the same time, if he is designating as an American, this is material conditioning, and ultimately not understanding the greater reality. Foolish people adore such men who die in national consciousness. But here is an example of Maharaj Yudhishthira. Actually, it's almost certain Prabhupada is giving like little pokes at Gandhi.
It's just-
Yeah, because Gandhi is, Prabhupada actually personally tried to warn Gandhi, but also Gandhi had a chance to meet with the devotees of Bhakti Siddhanta, and they tried to give him the pure teachings of the Gita, but Gandhi had a couple weird ideas. But he was very much, I know for Indians this is like heresy to say such things, but nowadays there's a growing movement, but definitely at one point when Prabhupada was saying it was like heresy, but actually he was nationally
He was saint among politicians, but politicians among saints.
yes, so
That's
that's the truth. He ultimately for a politician, he was quite. He had a lot of good spiritual advancement, but for a saintly person, he was quite degraded as a politician. So this is, we'll leave it at that. So Prabhupada is poking right now. Foolish people adore such men who die in national consciousness. But here's an example of Maharaj Yudhishthira, a royal king who prepared himself to leave this world without such national consciousness. And yet he is remembered even today because he was a great pious king, almost on the same level with the personality of Godhead, Sri Ram. And because people of the world were dominated by such pious kings, they were happy in all respects, and it was quite possible for such great emperors to rule the world. So, monarchy recommended in the Bhagavatam, but not just any monarchy. A dharmic king, a dharmaraj. This is the type of monarchy that exists. The reason that has all fallen apart in Kali Yuga is because the Raj stopped being dharmic. And so naturally, the leadership had to go to less qualified men, or less qualified classes of men. And now you have the battle between the business leaders, like we literally have a great businessman as our leader. Some would even argue not even a great businessman as our leader in this country. And ultimately, the other idea is, say, the socialist, or no more, take business out of the equation. Everything will have an equality except the oligarchy up here. So this is like the Shudra class, Prabhupada would say, versus the capitalist class, the Vaishya class. The business people versus the laborer class for ruling. And both are not qualified to rule, and it's going to be a disaster. No matter who rules, it's just going to be a disaster. And we'll transition from one disaster to an even more disastrous situation. But that's Kali Yuga. But anyway, this is showing how it could and should be. But almost certainly will not be like that for us. So, and that's why Yudhishthira is leaving, because he's saying, no, I'm not very interested in this type of world, especially that Krishna has left. But we somehow were interested in this type of world, so this is the world we get. Congratulations. Haribol. But the silver lining is this actually the easiest age to make spiritual advancement, because it is so disturbing that it's very easy to not get intoxicated by the material situation. Or in previous ages, it was very difficult to not get intoxicated because the life actually was quite nice, but not anymore. So, very easy to have spiritual realization in this life. Vachang juhava manasi tad prana itade chatam mrityavapanang sotsargang tang panchatveya johavi. Vacham, speeches, juhava, relinquished, manasi, into the mind, tat prane, mind into breathing, itare cha, other senses also, tam, into that, mrityo, into death, apanam, breathing, sautsargam, with all dedication, tam, that, panchatve, into the body made of 5 elements, he, certainly, ajohavi, amalgamated it. Now this is actually quite deep, what they're saying here, because this is talking about the reverse order of how creation takes place. So Yudhishthira is actively participating in the process to dissolve his material body and subtle material body, which is only a great yogi can do such a feat. Ordinarily, a great devotee can achieve all these things just simply by devotion to the Lord, which ultimately Yudhishthira had. But he may be showing, it appears that he's showing the actual yogic process in dissolving the material existence. So we'll talk about this. Let's let Prabhupada talk about it first. Then he amalgamated, like merged, all the sense organs into the mind. Then the mind into life. What did they say for life? Is it prana? Yeah, mind into life. And then life into breathing. His total existence into the embodiment of the 5 elements. And his body into death. Then as pure self, he became free from the material conception of life. Maharaj Yudhishthira, like his brother Arjuna, began to concentrate and gradually became freed from all material bondage. First, he concentrated all the actions of the senses and amalgamated them into the mind. What? Amalgamated them into the mind. Or in other words, he turned his mind towards the transcendental service of the Lord. He prayed that since all material activities are performed by the mind in terms of actions and reactions of the material senses, and since he was going back to Godhead, the mind would wind up its material activities and be turned towards the transcendental service of the Lord. There was no longer a need for material activities. Actually, the activities of the mind cannot be stopped, for they are the reflection of the eternal soul, but the quality of the activities can be changed from matter to the transcendental service of the Lord. The material color of the mind is changed when one washes it from contaminations of life breathing, and thereby frees it from the contamination of repeated births and deaths and situates it in pure spiritual life.
Contamination of life breathing. That's an interesting term.
So the prana of this world, the breathing is what, even quite the creation is all the dissolution of the world is the inhale of the Lord, and the expansion of the universe is the exhale of the Lord. So similarly, in our life, what is moving everything is the breath. You can survive without everything for a good amount of time, but you cannot survive very, very long at all without the breath. So with every breath, and then also that breath is connected to the mind, we're implicated in all kinds of desires and things reaching out into the material world. So the pure mind, or the pure chitta, is contaminated actually by the subtle body via the prana. And I don't know exactly how it all works. It's a bit above my pay grade. But apparently, we're all implicated, and actually, quite literally, the soul is trapped in between the 5 pranas, or the 5 life airs, within the heart. And so, in order to re-access and free the soul, you have to kind of untangle that, and only through the very mystic yogic process. And Prabhupada's talking about here, instead of doing a mechanical system, he's actually focusing on transcendental service to the Lord, and just in that focus, it automatically untangles the whole situation. So this is what Yudhishthira is doing. But yeah, it's kind of hard to fathom, because we're so implicated already. There's so many things happening for us to be materially implicated. All the breathing processes, all the elemental processes of our body, all the things that we somehow got encaged in, and we don't even remember how it happened. It's just, and even in this body, every time you take a new body, the quite literal physical engagement that happens of the soul, and also the pranic, subtle energetic engagement that's also happening. It's so much. But when you become free from that, there's like a reverse of what once implicated you. Now you're being freed from those things. If you imagine you're like leaving a prison and you're going out this door, and then you're going out this door, and you're opening up and you're coming out to pure spiritual life. But we have to go through the different layers. I don't know if you might have heard this term. It's a yogic term. What is it called? Is it not the kleshas? Those are miseries. The koshas. The koshas are the different layers of the soul. So you have the what is it? Atmamaya, or not Atmamaya? Anamaya kosha. Anamaya is like the food body kosha. So by eating food, we're building tissues and all these things, and we're actually building layers over our soul. By engaging with the material world and doing this, that's why yogis, they fast. At death, they fast. They're no longer interested in that kosha, so they're getting rid of the food kosha, the bodily kosha, which is building the body. And then you go to the next level, which is the pranamaya kosha. So then they start to steady the breathing and try and neutralize the breathing. We're taking in, so we don't realize we're doing it. We're taking in so much oxygen and so many things from this material world to function this body. But it's so many subtle elements are needed. So this is like on the level of air and ether, these elements. So that's running the, energetic systems. That's what's pumping the blood and moving everything throughout the body. So, the yogi is then beginning to unwind these things through, type of breathing processes. And then there's the next layer is the manamaya kosha, that's the actual functions of the mind, which are stimulating one to reach out into the world and build all these things. But then by directing the mind inward towards the freed state, or this is saying the transcendental service of the Lord, you can get to the next kosha, which is the vijnanamaya kosha, or that's the realized mind, or the realized intelligence. And that's actually now you're realizing, this is a binding situation. I'm not directing my mind here. I'm going to direct this is called sambandha jnana. You realize the relationship. Or at the very least, you can have an impersonal realization of the Lord, and you could free yourself that way too. But that's definitely not recommended. But you'll be detached from anything materially, and then you realize the goal is the Atma, and that's the final thing. The Atma Maya kosha is which isn't a kosha. You actually is in the center of the coverings is the pure spirit soul. And so when you learn to direct all those facilities, instead of out into the material world, you direct it back in towards the soul, you can become freed. And then what's the liberated activity? To engage that soul in spiritual seva. But we're only practicing right now. We're not actually doing uppercut, spiritual seva. We're doing some, activities that'll train our mind and our body to focus on that. And then eventually it'll be refined. But right now we're just kind of running through the motions and getting our, it's called sadhana, practice. It's not actually sadhya or goal yet. We haven't reached the goal. So, and that's prem, but not easy. But anyway, for Yudhishthira it's possible. Did I finish this?
Mm-mm.
Where did I leave?
After the contaminations of life breathing, that sentence.
So all is manifested. And thereby free. So I'll read. The material color of the mind is changed when one washes it from contaminations of life breathing, and thereby frees it from the contamination of repeated births and deaths and situates it in pure spiritual life. All is manifested by the temporary embodiment of the material body, which is a production of the mind at the time of death. And if the mind is purified by practice of transcendental loving service to the Lord and is constantly engaged in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord, that's that sambandha jnana, or that vijnana maya kosha. You transcend the manamaya kosha. There is no more chance of the mind's producing another material body after death. It will be freed from absorption in material contamination. The pure soul will be able to return home back to Godhead. So basically, the mind is a reflection of our soul. And how we use the mind, either we can use it as our best friend and turn it inwards towards the soul and towards the engagement of the soul, which is service to the Supreme Soul, or we can turn it towards the material world and quite literally form our subtle upadhis or designations of who we'd like to be in this lifetime, and then all the likes and dislikes of this material world, and we get this type of food here and get this type of sense enjoyment here, and I'll get this type of job and I'll have this type of relationship and so on, and then we reach out into the material world and just further bind the soul. And then also that mind will carry on as it reincarnates. It'll seek another body in the next life. Like, we didn't get to fulfill this and this desire. And then based on those desires, you'll go into the next situation. And so like that. So we have to, yes, turn the mind on itself and direct it towards the Supreme. First, the soul, the Atma, and then the source of the Atma, the relationship of the Atma with the Supreme. So very nice. So Yudhishthira is doing very advanced type of thing. But this is actually all great spiritual traditions are doing. They say very simply, like Jesus, what is the number one commandment? Love God with all your heart, mind, soul, strength, and will. Like this. That's the do. You're turning. And the first teaching of Jesus is what? First thing he said.
Repent.
Yes, repent. But actually that's the English translation. The Greek translation is metanoia. Metanoia literally means to change one's mind. To change one's mind. Instead of mind here in the material world, Jesus, he also famously said, you can serve one of two masters. You can serve what?
The world or God?
Essentially, God or mammon. Mammon is like wealth, worldly wealth, and then all the things that worldly wealth can purchase. Worldly wealth will purchase this variety of sense gratification, that variety of sense gratification. But you cannot serve both. You'll either love one and despise the other, Jesus says. So this is true. And this is actually the process. We have to use Cheto Darpana Marjan. We have to cleanse our mind by turning the mind towards the Lord, calling for the Lord and allowing the Lord to come and cleanse it, and keep directing our consciousness towards the Lord until we're freed. And then we have a post-liberated type of life. This is like bhakti. But right now we're hoping to practice bhakti. We're not quite there yet. Even when you reach bhav bhakti, that's just a ray of prem. It's just like a little, like when you see the sun rising. Right now the sun is in full force. That's like pure prem, shining light on the soul. But right in that beginning of when the sun is rising, you just see the color starting to come up, and you can't see it through trees, but if you watch the sun rise on the seashore, you'll see rays start to come up over the horizon. This is said to be what bhav is. When it's starting to have the realization that, or not just realization, just starting to actually have the taste for wanting to intimately serve the Lord. And that's said to only just be a ray, more than a taste actually, the actual experience, the actual sentiment. But, yeah.
When one reaches bhav, that's a state where you can't fall down.
No, you can fall down, but it's very unlikely that you'll fall down. But you can still make a Vaishnava aparad, and but it's almost certain that you'll be successful eventually. Actually, every living entity will eventually be successful. But bhav bhakti you can still fall down from bhav bhakti. Prem, you will not fall down from prem. But bhav bhakti, you can still, maybe the only thing that can hold you back is a Vaishnava aparad at that point. You're no longer making nam aparads and things like that. Except you could maybe do a Vaishnava aparad. But that's the only thing that could hold us back. So anyway, and that's like an offense to a great personality. Let's read the final verse here. Trutve hutva cha panchatvam Tach chaikatve juhon muni Sarvam atmanya juhavid Brahmanyatmanam avyaye. Trutve, into the three qualities. Hutva, having offered. Cha, also. Panchatvam, 5 elements. Tat, that. Cha, also. Ekatve, in one's nescience or ignorance. Ajuho, amalgamated. Muni, the thoughtful. Sarvam, the sum total. Atmani, in the soul. Ajuhavit, fixed. Brahmani, unto the spirit. Atmanam, the soul. Avyaye, unto the inexhaustible. Translation. Thus annihilating the gross body of 5 elements into the 3 qualitative modes of material nature, he merged them in one nescience, in ignorance, and then absorbed that nescience in the self, Brahman, which is inexhaustible in all circumstances. Now, I don't know how one can actually do this. I clearly have not done it myself, but this is what Yudhishthira has accomplished. All that is manifested in the material world is the product of the Mahatattva Avyakta. And things that are visible in our material vision are nothing but combinations and permutations. What is a permutation?
One kind of combination.
What's that?
Similar to combination.
Yes. So it's okay.
Mathematical term.
So combinations and permutations of such variegated material products. I thought permutation was like a change, and now I just have to look at it.
Complex thing. Permutation.
I think it's like a change. An arrangement of objects in a specific order where the sequence matters, unlike a combination where the order doesn't matter. So like different sequences of arrangements.
How many ways that could be arranged in that?
Yes.
Those are the problems.
So it's more of like a process, but instead of just a combination, because it's just bringing them together. So anyway, combinations and permutations of such variegated material products. That's all that is visible in our material vision. But the living entity is different from such material products. It is due to the living entity's forgetfulness of his eternal nature as eternal servitor of the Lord, and his false conception of being a so-called lord of the material nature, that he is obliged to enter into the existence of false sense enjoyment. Thus, a concomitant generation of material energies is the principal cause of the mind's being materially affected. Thus, the gross body of 5 elements is produced. This is very interesting. It's saying from that initial desire, instead of wanting to serve the Lord, to want to be the Lord, then the illusory material energies, they take over that mind, and the Lord gives the living entity who desires such an abominable thing a facility to enact on its desires, and that's this material world. So that was a very foolish thing we desired. But here we are. Where did I end? Oh, that's good. I think like associated, but let's concomitant. Naturally accompanying or associated. Yes. Concomitant generated. So that's a.
Yeah, like a parallel.
So thus a concomitant generation of material energies is the principal cause of the mind's being materially affected. So when you have that unholy desire, then this material illusory energy, the Lord says, okay, here you go. And then the illusion takes place. You can try to be the Lord here. So this is actually the main problem, is we're all averse to God. We're all averse. Instead of wanting to serve God, we want to be God. And so that's when you say, I want to enjoy, that's really what you mean. Mm-hmm. I want to Lord. I want to master this thing. I want to, I want to enjoy this thing. But this is a big boo-boo. So thus the gross body of 5 elements is produced. Maharaj Yudhishthira reversed the action and merged the 5 elements of the body in the 3 modes of material nature. The qualitative distinction, so just a complete detachment from the body, and directing that consciousness back in towards pure service to God, and then the body will go with it and be merged back into the material modes, and the reverse of creation will happen, and this is the dissolution. But only like the great yogic personality, and they will bring about their death and force this thing. The qualitative distinction of the body as being good, bad, or mediocre is extinguished. And again, the qualitative manifestations become merged in the material energy, which is produced from a false sense of the pure living being. So, the qualitative distinction of the body. So, any attachment to the mind is extinguished. Any attachment to the body as good, bad, or mediocre is extinguished. And again, the qualitative manifestations become merged in the material energy, which is produced from a false sense of the pure living being. When one is thus inclined to become an associate of the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, in one of the innumerable planets of the spiritual sky, especially in Golok Vrindavan, one has to think always that he is different from the material energy. He has nothing to do with it, and he has to realize himself as pure spirit. Brahman, qualitatively equal with the Supreme Brahman, Parameshwar. Maharaj Yudhishthir, after distributing his kingdom to Parikit and Vajra, did not think himself emperor of the world or head of the Kuru dynasty. This sense of freedom from material relations, as well as freedom from the material engagement of the gross and subtle encirclement, makes one free to act as the servitor of the Lord, even though one is in the material world. This stage is called the Jivan Mukta stage, or the liberated stage, even in the material world. That is the process of ending material existence. One must not only think that he is Brahman, but must act like Brahman. One who thinks himself Brahman is an impersonalist, and one who acts like Brahman is the pure devotee. It's very nice. So, Yudhishthir merged his body, no longer designated with his body at all. And even in this, we can actually also do this when in the pure devotional state. Even where we don't actually associate with this body, we're not actually attached to this body. This body is an instrument for the Lord's service. But to actually, right now we may intellectually or theoretically say that, but it's not actually applied yet. It's not actually like, oh yes, I truly and wholeheartedly believe this is an instrument for the Lord's service. I may be interested in that, but I haven't actually fully done it yet. This is the work. So this is the process described here by Prabhupada. And also this process is described here in the Bhagavatam on how to merge oneself. I don't want to say merge because that's only one, that's the impersonal process. But the pure devotee,
dissolve one's false self.
Yeah, dissolve one's false self, and then potentially you could merge yourself. That's one level. That's what is that type of Sayujya Mukti? But that's abominable for the devotees. Where the devotees in the liberated stage will maybe accept the other forms of mukti, because there's 4 other forms: Sarupya, Samipya, Sailokya, and Sarshti Mukti. And these type of things, you may also accept them, but ultimately the goal of the self is to serve the Supreme Lord. But who has come to that conclusion? We say, yes, I'm practicing bhakti. I'm a bhakta. I'm bhakta this, or I'm this das, and like that. But actually, has that material designations gone? Has our identifications with the body gone? No, most likely not. So this is our, prospect. This is our prospect, and someone who has done this unraveling, maybe completely or maybe part way, they can at least show us the process, how to unravel this material entanglement that we've gotten in, which is based on the whole unholy desire of wanting to be the Lord, wanting to be the master, wanting to be the enjoyer. So give up this unholy desire. That commandment is empty coming from me, because I have not also given up this unholy desire. But may we also give up this unholy desire. May we at least seek someone who has given up this unholy desire, and under their auspices or under their grace, may we one day also give up this unholy desire. So Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So very good. Hare Krishna. And